Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Until My Watch is Over. My name is Mickey. I am a speaker and an advocate and a life coach on behalf of dementia. And that's what this podcast is about. This podcast is where we talk about the devastating truth that dementia is a killer. And why do I say that? Well, I say that because it is the sixth top killing disease in our nation. And honestly, I don't think that we talk about it enough. I think the only time it ever gets talked about is when it arises. So, in these episodes, in this new podcast, this is a community based podcast. It's a forum where we talk about different avenues, different things about dementia, different types of dementia, different stages of dementia, and just a variety of things. And soon we will have guest speakers come on and share what they've learned, the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts, and all of that with things that they've endured or experienced so that we can just help each other out as a community. So, but today I want to talk to you about something that's kind of interesting that I saw, of course, on Facebook, scrolling like we do on our phone. We do that. And I came across this post and it was really good. I really liked it. And I wanted to elaborate on it and I want to share it with you today. So I'm actually going to share my screen with you. So bear with me a second. Excuse me. Oops. There we go. Hopefully you all can see this as soon as it pops up. Okay. So hopefully you can see me. I'm over here somewhere. I don't know where you'll see me at on here, but I'm hoping that you'll be able to see me, and I'm hoping that this actually is recording. So in this episode today, I want to dive in and talk about the six do's and don'ts of dementia care. And I ran across this, like I said, these are not my six do's and don'ts, okay? This is just an example um, that, came up, and I thought it was really, really good. And I thought, hey, I want to share this. I want to talk about this. I want to shine some light on this topic because I think it's important. So the six do's and don'ts, let's start with the very first one. It says, do pay attention to what works. And the thing that I think is great about that, like right off the bat, is you have to make it work for you and your loved one. Whatever you do to make it work to where you are successful at it, that's what you need to do. Everything I do may not work for you, and everything you do may not work for me. Now, I can give you tips. I can give you like the do's and don'ts like today. I can share these with you, but it may not work that system may not work for you. You have to figure out exactly what works for you. And each day it might be different. You may have to take a different tactic each day, depending on the stage of dementia that you're in. And like I said in another episode, we will talk about these stages, but not today. So, depending on where you're at in this journey, going through this horrible disease, this terrible situation, whether it be with yourself, a loved one, or even if you're working in a care facility and you're wondering, how do I handle dementia? How do I deal with people that have it? Okay, how do I deal with it if I have it? Okay, do pay attention to what works. Pay attention to that. If it's working, do it. Do it. I have people say, why are you doing that? And I say, because it works. I'm doing this because this is what works. Okay. And some people may just think what you're doing is crazy. Like they don't, if they're not the ones taking care of the individual, they may think you're crazy for what you're doing or how you're doing it. So if it works, do it. Just literally do it. Now, the second one, it says, do use distraction as a tool. It's kind of funny because in life, we really try to refrain from being distracted all the time. But when you have dementia, the cognitive ability in your brain is so all over the place. Distraction is a great tool. It actually works for people that have dementia. I would not normally, as a Christian life coach, I wouldn't normally tell people to, hey, stay distracted. I actually tell them, don't be distracted, get away from distractions. But with this type of disease, distraction is important. And I'm going to give you an example as why. Another reason why I want to talk about these today. My grandmother, who I've been taking care of for 6 years now, has full dementia. She's in stage 6, I will say. And when she first came to me, she was obviously in an earlier stage. And she was still able to, go for walks and get in the car and go get, an ice cream. If you say, hey, grandma, do you want to go out to lunch? She could go out to lunch and eat. But the one thing that she couldn't do is remember that my grandpa had passed away the year before. And it was devastating the first couple of years after my grandfather died because every day, multiple times a day, grandma would break out in tears and be like, and would be looking for Laverne. She'd be like, where's Laverne? I gotta find Laverne. I gotta go home. I gotta get back to Laverne. Where is he? Where is he? Because she didn't remember that he had passed away. And that is really, really difficult to watch. And it's really hard to see someone that you love suffering in a way that you just feel their pain. You know that they're going through it. You know that they're hurting. I mean, they were together 70 years. I know she was missing grandpa. Like, I miss grandpa, and I wasn't with him 70 years. I mean, he was in my life for, about 50 years, but man, I couldn't imagine, how devastated she was. But the thing was, is she couldn't even wrap her mind around the fact that he was gone because she already had dementia when he passed away. So, or the earlier stages of dementia. So what I would do is I would use distractions. I would distract her to keep her mind busy so that she wasn't having a lot of time to think about Laverne. Okay. And if she brought him up, it was okay. We would redirect her and I'm the type of person that I just would, tell her the truth. Like grandpa passed away, grandma. And, some people were like, you actually tell her that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to tell her that. I'm not going to lie to her. I really don't think lying is a really good option. So if that's what works for you, I guess, there are some things that, I do as a distraction, but certain things you just don't lie about. And that was one of them for me. But I would just tell her, grandma, hey, grandpa's no longer with us. So I would use different things as a distraction. Food, I would use as a distraction. Watching TV, giving her a good book to read, things that I know that she liked to do is what I distracted her with. And, I would definitely try to get her into engaging with some of those distractions. So that's a good example. I like that one. So the next one says, do encourage happy memories and family or familiar hobbies. Now, me and my grandma, we talk about memories all the time because my grandma and we had a lot of fun when I was growing up. And of course, I wasn't around when she was growing up, but she was older. And but when I was growing up, we had a lot of fun. We roller skated together, we rode bikes together. We went everywhere together all the time. And like when we were together, we were just inseparable. And we did some crazy stuff. My grandpa used to be like, he would shake his head and be like, "Oh my gosh, you guys just don't quit." We were always doing something crazy, and we had a lot of fun doing it. So we had a lot of really good, happy memories to talk about. And I would talk to her about them. I'd remind her, like, hey, grandma, remember when we went roller skating? Hey, grandma, remember when we did this? And I would talk about it and like, hey, grandma, and she would start laughing. And it was really, good moments. Those are good memories. Now, that doesn't mean that she's going to remember it 5 minutes after you have that conversation, but it keeps her mind distracted. That's another way to distract her is bringing up the memories and having her do things that are familiar, like the hobbies that she likes. So she loves to read. She was a teacher for 13 years. And one way I figured out how to distract her was when I was running my daycare, I made sight words for the kids that were going from preschool into kindergarten. So I looked up all of the sight words for the kindergarten year and I started teaching them in preschool so they would be ahead of the game. They would know the words. So I made a memory game. I'd write the word on two cards, you flip them over and you had to match them up. Okay. If you don't know what memory is, that's kind of what it is. Now it's kind of funny that we talk about dementia because dementia is where you don't really have a lot of memory. Now, I found this baggie of cards that I had made, and I thought, well, if anything, Grandma could just write on the back of them because she likes to write little notes to herself. She likes to write scripture and she just likes to write stuff down. Like whatever she's writing, she just writes. So I gave her these memory cards that I had made on these 3x5 cards, and as a teacher, it reminded her, and she literally would set them all up on the table and then match them together and make words and sentences out of the words. And she would sit there for probably a good hour or two just playing with those cards. It kept her very distracted. She was very content, and it seemed to help her. So I've engaged in different ways with different things like that. And there's a lot of different things that you can do to encourage hobbies that they like. Now, one thing I noticed with her, um, which I thought was really interesting, was one day she took her napkin from lunch and she would fold it and unfold it and use it as a bookmarker, stick it in her book, and then take it out, and then fold it and unfold it, and then stick it in a book in another area of a book, and then take it back out. And so one day I just gave her a stack of napkins, and she would fold them and unfold them. And I was sharing that with a dementia group that I was in, and a couple of things that they had suggested to me, which I thought were great ideas. Like again, this is a community where we share ideas. They suggested give her a stack of like washcloths or hand towels, and just have her let her fold them. You know, and she drops it on the floor or well, whatever. You know, just give her a whole stack of washcloths and hand towels, and or a stack of socks. Have her match up socks. And it was kind of funny because my grandma don't really like doing laundry. I found out she just don't really care for laundry. So, I mean, who does, right? Who really likes laundry? And it's still to this date, I don't think it's like a real big thing of hers. But I tried giving her socks and she didn't want nothing to do with it. Maybe it's just because they were socks. Maybe she thought they're on somebody's stinky feet. I don't know what it was, but she was not having the socks. The washcloths, she did okay, but I noticed that instead of folding them, she was trying to clean everything around her with them. She would clean her face, she would clean the table, she would wipe her books and stuff down, which I thought was kind of interesting and kind of funny. So I was like, okay, that's a different, you know, she's using it in a different way from how she was using the memory cards. So things that are familiar to her, that she likes, those are things that keep them distracted so that when their mind goes into that state of confusion and they don't know where they're at, they don't know who you are, they don't know why they're where they are, and they start getting agitated. Those little distractions kind of keeps that at bay for the most part. Now some days you're just gonna encounter it. There's no doubt about it. You're gonna have days where there's days that she's like, I just need to go home. It's time for me to go home. I need to get dressed and go home. And then there's days where she's like, I don't know who you are. She'll call me other people's names. She's called me like her sister's names and her daughter-in-law's name and her niece's name, and and it doesn't bother me. Like some people get really bothered by it. It doesn't bother me because I know she knows who I am. But it's really nice on days when she actually calls me by my name. It just makes my heart just melt when she calls me right out by my name. It just makes me so excited when she remembers me. But that doesn't happen all the time. So encouraging her to talk about memories is really big because it gives them part of their life back that I know, somewhere, somehow feel like on their journey through the dementia cycles. I think that as it's fading away, I think they feel like they're losing it. They're losing all of that. They don't have that to hang on to anymore. So if you encourage them and you bring them up and you reminisce, even if it's for 5 minutes, it's okay to do it. I I think it's wonderful to do. I love reminiscing with my grandmother. We could talk for a long time. A lot of our conversations are reminiscing. We don't have conversations about much of anything else. So now let's jump over to the next slide where we start talking about the don'ts. Okay, the don'ts. Don't engage in arguments. Okay, this can be tough. Okay, for those of you that are argumentative or get agitated easily or don't agree with whatever argument is arising, this can be really tough to not engage, not to participate in it. If they're arguing with you, you don't have to argue back. You don't really have to argue back. Now, you know, if you're trying to protect them or trying to help them or trying to like, um, you know, get them clean, or you're doing something that's going to help them health wise, medically wise, you know, Yeah, sometimes you're going to get in arguments. My grandmother hates to take a shower. She absolutely hates taking showers. And I know a lot of you can relate to this because in my dementia group, I know that a lot of people talk about why doesn't my loved one take showers? And we will actually talk about that in a whole nother episode because it's really good. But don't engage in the argument. Switch it up. Talk about something different. Like I will get my grandma in the bathroom and she'll start complaining and I'll change the subject. I'll be like, "Hey, Grandma, do you want me to? Are you warm enough? Would you like me to turn up the heater? You know, how about this water? Why don't you fill the water? Is the water warm enough? Um, Grandma, hey, I'm gonna hand you this wash rag with some soap on it. Can you wash? Can you help wash yourself? Because it distracts her. Even though she can't really wash herself, I do that, but it gives her something to do. It makes her hands busy, her mind busy. It takes her distraction. It distracts her mind off from whatever's engaging the argument, whatever's causing her to be agitated. And most arguments are for a couple of reasons. They argue with you because they don't understand what's going on. They don't understand our world anymore. It's confusing to them. They also argue with you if it hurts them because they can't tell you, hey, I don't feel good today. My back hurts, my leg hurts, my hands hurt. Sometimes my grandma will tell me if she's hurting somewhere, but 99.9% of the time, she won't say a word. She won't say a word. And so sometimes she'll have flare-ups in her hands because she has really bad arthritis in her hands. And I kid you not, one day her wrist was just all swollen and red, and I thought, man, she woke up and I thought she must have hit it on the railing, on her bed rail or something, or maybe got her hand caught in the railing and hurt it. So of course I called the doctor and I had them come out and x-ray because I want to make sure she didn't fracture or break anything because, they're so fragile at this age. And it was just a really bad flare-up of arthritis, and her ligament was torn in her finger. And I thought, man, I wonder how she did that. But here's the kicker. I get her up that morning. I go to get her out of bed and I'm getting her up and I see her hand is like swollen and I'm like, wow, what's wrong with your hand? I'm going to get you some ice. We're going to take care of that. Like right as soon as we get you to the table and feed you. Um, and I was asking her, does this hurt? And she's like, nope, doesn't hurt. And if I moved it a certain way or if I touched it, then she'd go, oh yeah, it kind of does a little bit, but she never complained. Like when she heard it, she didn't complain. She didn't complain the whole time. It took about 2 or 3 days for the swelling to go down. And, after wrapping it and icing it and taking care of it, um, you know, it healed itself, but she not one time complained. And so I was like really afraid, like for her to use her hand to do anything, if that kind of makes any sense. So definitely, um, when you see them hurting, if they tell you, or if you're trying to get them to do something and they're arguing with you, sometimes it's because they're hurting, is what I'm trying to say. And sorry, I got tongue tied there. Or it's because they're tired. Maybe they didn't get a lot of sleep that night. Or um, maybe they're just having a bad day. Yeah, I mean, we wake up, we have bad days. I mean, that's all there is to it. Sometimes we're just in a bad mood, okay? Sometimes we just don't want to do life that day. And that's okay. Those reasons are all acceptable reasons. Now, you get to decide whether you engage in it or not. You get to decide, can you try to change that day around for them? Try to make them feel better? Try to help them through whatever they're going through? Or are you going to agitate the situation by arguing back? And there's a few times that I've argued with my grandmother, not gonna lie. There's a few times. And only because I didn't want her to get hurt or I didn't want her to do something crazy. And there's some stuff that my grandma has done that was just kind of cray cray. Like, oh, no, we're not doing that. And she's like, yes, I am. I'm like, no, you're not. And, and I would try not to, laugh or argue with her, but, I could tell it was agitating her. But to protect her or to keep her safe or whatever, um, that's what we would do. Okay. It would, it wasn't that I wanted to argue with her, but I really wanted to make it clear that I was not going to have her do that because I did not want her to get hurt. So, anyhow, don't engage in it. Just try to refrain from it. Just think of a positive way to flip the switch. Think about it like that. Flip the switch. If they're arguing with you, flip the switch. Change it up. What can you do to get out of the argument? Okay. Don't be confrontational. Just let it go. Don't take everything at face value. When they're arguing with you, they're not mad at you. They're really not mad at you. I mean, they might be, but more than likely, they're not mad at you. They're mad at their situation. They don't understand what's going on. So you need to give them grace. Give them grace all day long. Just grace. Lots of grace. Okay. Now, the next one, um, the second don't is don't lean too much on reason. And that's kind of interesting. Um, everybody wants to reason. Like, you don't have to have a reason for what's going on. You know, my grandma, when I wake her up in the morning, I don't give her a reason for waking her up. I just go in and I get her up. Usually it's because it's, time to get her changed, time to get her fed, time to get her to eat, time to get her bathed, trying to get her hair combed, trying to get her whatever I'm trying to do. I'm not going to reason with her about it. I'm just going to do it. I just go in and I start taking the side railing off and I start sitting up the bed and she's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, it's time to get up. I don't want to get up. Well, it's time to get up. We got to get you up. Sorry. And there's times when I'll go in and I'll be like, you ready to get up? And she'll say no. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to give you a few minutes. I'll let you, rest a few more minutes. And I'll do that a couple of times just to get her to wake up a little bit because sometimes you don't want to just go in there and wake them right up and say, hey, get up right now. Like nobody wants to be jolted out of bed. But I don't give her much time to reason on anything. We don't reason about things. We just do it. We have like a routine and we just kind of follow it. Seems to work for us. Now, it may not work for you. I know sometimes people will reason. They will give them reason after reason after reason, and that's not necessary. That's just extra. It doesn't need to be, okay? Now, let's look at the last one. Like I already said already, I think I already mentioned this when we start talking about don't engage in arguments, but don't take it personally. I love this because, man, we all have feelings. We all feel, okay? We all are emotional beings, and watching someone that you love disappear day after day after day can be very emotional. And when they do something to you directly, like call you someone else's name or get mad at you when you're just trying to help them. Or a perfect example, my daughter, oh, my poor daughter, my oldest daughter, she had made these cupcakes and they were delicious, okay? They were delicious cupcakes. And she's so gracious. She always brings stuff home for my grandma. She always thinks about grandma. She's like, "Oh, I brought grandma Coke, or I brought grandma, a shake from, Dairy Queen, or I brought grandma a donut, right? I brought her a little treat. I brought her some cupcakes, okay? So she brought home these cupcakes that she had made, and she couldn't wait to give one to my grandma. And my grandma took a bite of it, and she handed it back to my daughter and told her that she needed to take it back to the store. It was terrible. And what was really funny about it is they were delicious. They were like melt in your mouth, cream cheese, perfect. But here's the thing. Maybe my grandma didn't like cream cheese. My grandma loves strawberries. She loves chocolate. Maybe she's not a fan of cream cheese. So I just told my daughter. My daughter started laughing. And I thought, man, that's gonna hurt her feelings because she was like, wow, grandma, really? Like, take it back to the store. I made these. She's like, I made these cupcakes. You're telling me to take them back to the store. They're not even store bought. They're homemade. And so I could see my daughter being a little bit butthurt. Like, hey, that kind of stings a little bit when especially when you bring it home and you're thinking about her and you can't wait to give her this because you want to just do something nice for her and then she tells you, take it back. I don't want it. That can hurt a little bit. That can give you a reason to take it personally, but don't. So what my daughter did is she just kind of laughed, and I knew it didn't sit right with her. And I told her, I said, your cupcakes were delicious. I go, but you got to understand, maybe she just doesn't like cream cheese. Maybe she just, doesn't like that flavor. Maybe she's just having an off day. Maybe with what she had for breakfast that day, it doesn't mix with what she just got done eating or whatever. It could be any kind of reason that she didn't like it. But that doesn't mean she doesn't like you. Okay? You can't take it personally. And so it's a joke with me and my daughter. Like she'll bring her home a treat and she'll be like, I wonder if she'll tell me to take this one back to the store. It's kind of just a little joke that we have. But and my grandma doesn't usually do that. My grandma usually likes everything that we give her. But once in a while we'll give her something and she's not having it. And you can't take it personally. When they say stuff and do stuff, you cannot take it personally. A lot of times they don't realize. They can't filtrate in their mind. They don't have the ability. Their cognitive ability to worry about your feelings is not there. So you need to check yourself before you wreck yourself on anything that happens that day, because whatever you step into that day, when you go to take care of your loved one, it's safe to say it's okay to have a little bit of a guard up if you're a real emotional, sensitive, over the top person where everything offends your or hurts your feelings. If you're that kind of a mushy person, and I'm not really that way, but there are times that my grandma has hurt my feelings. I'm pretty tough skinned, and there's times that my grandma has hurt my feelings. But I didn't get mad at her. I didn't, retaliate against her or be like, oh, just totally be distraught about it. There's a couple times my grandma would say things and I would just have to leave the room. I would have to leave the room because sometimes she could be argumentative, she could be mean, but not very often. My grandma's a sweet, sweet, sweet person. But when she's having an off day and she's cranky or she's in a mood, oh boy, watch out. But if she is having that mood, don't take it personally. It's not about you. It's for whatever reason she's having a bad mood. Don't take it that way. Let it go. Seriously, it's super important that you understand you don't have to take everything so personal. Okay? Especially with someone with dementia. And now here's the kicker. Sometimes it can be when you're around someone, you can kind of sometimes forget they have dementia. As odd as that may sound. Now, before my grandma started going through stages 4 and 5, as she was progressing, Um, there was days that it was hard to remember that she would have dementia because she would almost act normal sometimes. And those are the days that kind of throw you for a quinky dink, and you're like, you're in a completely different realm. And you almost think, man, she's having such a great day. It's like almost like the dementia's not there today or that day or whatever. So we have to keep in mind that this is the disease we're fighting. We're not fighting the person. It's not the person that we love that we think this isn't how this person used to be. That's right, it isn't how the person used to be because the person didn't used to have dementia. Now they do. So it's the dementia. You need to remember it's the disease that you're up against, not the individual, not the person that you're caring for. And that can be tough at times. Sometimes, when we're just going through it every day and sometimes you get tired and when you're going through the motions day in and day out, it can get exhausting and sometimes it can wear on you and sometimes you just forget and so you might have some bad days, but if you just remember these do's and don'ts, which I think are great. I think they're just a few. There's a lot more do's and don'ts that I could add to this list, but for today I just want to just touch base on these because I also want to share a fun fact with y'all. But um it's interesting to say there's a lot of things that will work and won't work for you. I don't know what that is. um just like if you came to my house, um, you wouldn't know what works or doesn't work for my grandmother because you're not around her. You don't know her. I know everything about her, inside, outside, every avenue around her. Um, I know by the way she acts what she's going through or how she's feeling usually because I've been around her for 6 years. For almost every single day, I've been around her for 6 years. And that's a long time to get to really know someone's habits, their behaviors, their mannerisms, um, watching them transition from one stage to the next. Sometimes watching them, you know, go to the next stage and then get better for a little while. I've seen it get reversed for a while, and that's exciting. That's kind of exciting because you think, oh, they're getting better. Dementia doesn't go away. There's no cure for it, but there is a lot of hope. So let's stay hopeful. Let's stay connected to that and remember that, you know, we love our loved ones. We want the best for them. We want to take care of them. So whatever works, make it work. Make it happen. It's got to work for both of you. By the way, if you're a caregiver and you're working on burnout or your batteries are empty, you need to recharge. You need to get yourself in a place where you can have a break, take a day off, go on a vacation, bring someone in to help you out. There's nothing wrong with asking for help if you need it. By the way, take care of yourself. You need to be able to take care of yourself. before you can take care of someone else. So keep that in mind as well. So fun tip for today before I go into closing. Um, in my episodes, every single episode, I'm going to share a fun fact or a tip with you. Now, when we talk about dementia, there is absolutely 100% nothing fun about it. I'm sure you all can agree with me on that. There's nothing fun about this horrible, horrible disease. And I'm sure you all can agree with me. So, in this podcast, I just want to share a fun tip with you. And it's going to be a variety of tips. But here's the other kicker. If you hear this, if you're watching clear to the end of this podcast, which I'm hoping that you are, um, I want you to go and share this fun tip on my Facebook page so that I know that you've watched the episode. So, anyway, I wanted to share with you today today's fun tip of the day. Are you ready? Ding, 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 ding. Okay, here we go. Flossing your teeth. Okay. How important is it? Well, we know oral hygiene is really important. Okay. Brushing your teeth, flossing your teeth. This is for yourself as well as your loved one. Now, if your loved one already has dementia, this is not going to make them get better. So, this is a tip for you as a person. Or if you are at the very early stages of dementia, this can help you. Okay. Flossing your teeth regularly can significantly reduce the risk of dementia. Studies have shown potentially reducing it by 21 to 48% compared to those with bad oral hygiene. Ugh. It's one thing to brush your teeth, but get to flossing. Get the food out of the in between, okay? You want that, excuse me, you want that bacteria out of your mouth because what happens is if it sits in there long enough in your gums, it starts to get absorbed into your bloodstream. Okay, it can get into your sinuses. It can go up into your brain. You can swallow it, swallow the bad bacteria. Then it gets in your throat and your esophagus, into your stomach, and then into your system. There's a lot of bad bacteria from food that gets left in our mouth. So I'm going to share a really quick tip with you, or a really quick story about this. I took a gal to the dentist. I'm not going to say who she is because I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here, but I took her to the dentist. She was really bad at brushing her teeth. Although she was told to brush her teeth many times, she wouldn't do it. She just refused. Took her to the dentist because it was time for her yearly checkup. The dentist literally scraped out rocks, rocks out of her gums because the food had hardened and turned into stone inside of her gums. And he was chipping away. These rocks were flying out of her mouth, these little stones. And he took one and he rolled it and he said, gave it to her and he said, feel this. This is a stone. It has become calcified. It is hard and it's inside of your gums. Your gums are full of these little stones because you are not brushing your teeth. That's how long that food had sat in her mouth. And if you think about it, it's pretty darn disgusting. I think that's just really, really disgusting. So floss your teeth. Brush your teeth, floss your teeth. Let's get to reducing, the chance of dementia. If we can reduce it for ourselves, shouldn't we be? Like, let's work on it, okay? Now, we don't have to beat ourselves up if we didn't do it in the past. We weren't good at it, whatever. Hey, it's something you can start today. You can just start it. Go get you some flossing string or some flossing sticks and just, hey, clean out your teeth a couple times a day. Put one in your pocket, carry it around, clean out your teeth after you eat. Brush your teeth, clean your teeth. Oral hygiene will help you reduce the risk of getting dementia. So I think that's an interesting fact. I hope you all like that. And I just want to thank you all for being here today. I hope that this information was helpful. I am going to stop sharing my screen. So give me just a second. There you go. Anyhow, I hope you all have a wonderful day and I hope you're all blessed. And hey, take care of yourself while you're taking care of your loved one. And hopefully you'll be back for the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Take care and God bless. Talk to y'all soon.